Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. You know, one question I ask every guest on Everyday Martial Artist is about their favorite martial arts book. And there's never been one quite like Martial Theory by Steve Perlman, described as the art of war for the martial arts. Martial Theory helps any martial artist or instructor take their understanding and teaching to the next level. And at martialtheoryU.com, you'll find a global community with instructor groups, Q&A with Steve, live events, and demonstrations to help you apply martial theory directly to your training. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Find Martial Theory on Amazon, and when you join martialtheoryU.com, use discount code EverydayMA for 20% off. That's under $20 a month for life. That's martialtheoryU.com, code EverydayMA. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is a lifelong martial artist, instructor, and leader who's dedicated more than 3 decades to the study, teaching, and preservation of American Kenpo. His journey began at the age of 10, and over the years, he rose through the ranks to become one of the most respected figures in the Australian Kenpo community. He's the founder of Personal Self-Defense, a lineage that has produced 17 black belts, and the creator of the Kenpo Tactical Systems syllabus. He's a first-generation student and the highest-ranking representative in Australia under Senior Master Graham Lelliott of GL Kenpo, earning his 7th-degree black belt through decades of training, leadership, and service. Throughout his career, he's held numerous directorships, hosted national and international training camps and tournaments, and brought some of the world's most influential Kenpo masters to Australia. His dedication to education extends beyond the mat as the founder and host of the Sensei podcast, where he continues to explore martial arts, mindset, and personal development. In 2024, his lifelong commitment to excellence and service was recognized with the induction into the Australian Martial Arts Hall of Fame. His impact spans generations, systems, and communities, and his work continues to inspire martial artists around the world. Please welcome my guest today, Sensei Peter Tass. How you doing today, Peter?
Mr. Doucette, pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, I know, like I said, between the two of our podcasts, we've been talking about it for 3 years, and we finally made both of them happen in the same week, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You're probably my counterpart. You're the busiest guy I know over there.
Yeah, I'm the busiest guy I know too, unfortunately. So I get that. You understand it too. So, well, I know you listen to this show and you know what we do, but what we want to do, as I mentioned, you started at the age of 10, but I want to know what led to that, where that first interest came from, where that first spark came from, kind of how your martial arts journey started.
Well, we go back to the beginning. There wasn't really an interest there. I think my mother decided we needed some extracurricular activities because me and my brother used to beat each other senseless. He was a bit older,
okay.
So he had an advantage over me. And there was no internet back then or anything, so she decided she would take us up and enroll us in Taekwondo up around the hall in the corner there. And the instructor was Mr. O. He was a small Asian gentleman, very steadfast, tough Asian guy, and she enrolled us. I had no idea what was going on, as you do most times, and walked away and left us there for a while, and that's where the journey began in martial arts. But I really had no idea I was going to go start martial arts. It was just, you guys are going to go and do this, and here you go.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if my brother had anything to do with it, but we went there, and it was pretty good. We lasted a few months.
Okay.
Yeah. But we used to be, it was all mixed together, adults and kids. There was no separation.
Okay.
Yeah, it was running around the streets in bare feet, punching Makiwara boards with bare knuckles, you name it, sparring, no gear whatsoever, sparring with the adults as well, not just the kids, so the adults. So I remember, nice. I think it was only like 9 years old or something like that, not very old, bit daunting, and put up against a fully grown adult red belt. And I was absolutely, shitting myself, as we say in Australia. Wow. So I remember my tactic was I was just going to fire off kicks for 2 minutes straight to not even give him an opportunity to kick me, because if he kicked me, I'd probably fly down the other end of the hall kind of thing. And that tended to work okay. So I ended up surviving that. But it was very regimented, very traditional. And yeah, it was all mixed together, and was counting in Korean, I think, or wherever.
Hana, dual, set, net, that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I still remember some of it. Like it's like chumbi upchugi.
Nice.
That was a long time ago, but it was short lived. Because we did, I think we were there for a few months, and then he said there's a grading coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And the Taekwondo is huge here in Australia, and still huge. Kenpo is a bit of a minority. There's not many Kenpo people here. It's pretty much, it's hard to find a Kenpo instructor.
Okay.
They've grown more over the years, but, there was no Kenpo back then. It was Taekwondo. But so when you did a grading, there would have been over 100 people there.
Wow.
And there was that many people, they would call you up by your first name.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like all the Peters get up. Okay, let's see.
Really? All at once?
Carter one. Yeah. And as a kid, I got up at this grade. It was a good story, actually. It's grading.
Mm-hmm.
So first grading, I'm absolutely, I'm a petrified 9-year-old, going for a grading, and all Peters get up. Okay, get up, and I'm like, I blanked. I'm like, as a 9-year-old kid, you're daunted. It's like, okay, what am I going to do? And luckily I got up, there was all adults and everything, and I just followed what they did. So I made it through that part. Then my brother got up and he blanked, but he didn't follow through. And then they put us through for sparring. They have the sparring, and there must have been a high-ranking belt. I don't know who it was, but they had I think there must be a federation here, and they had one of the high-ranking guys at the grading, and he's like, okay, I want to see sparring, and points to me, and I'm like, what? And puts me up against the kid, and he was a little bit shorter, but he was a blue belt.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I'm just a lonely, I'm a white belt. What am I doing sparring in blue belt? I was absolutely petrified, but I mean, the area we grew up in was not a nice area.
Mm-hmm.
And, you had to live by your wits. When you went to school, you learned how to fight every day.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in a rough neighborhood, you learn how to use street tactics. Anyway, so we get up for the grading, and this blue belt kid, and I've seen him in class, is excellent, kicks and the whole lot. And I'm like, I'm just going to get my ass handed to me here. And anyway, is like, go, and he steps in and does a roundhouse kick up over my head, and he holds it there because he's showing off for the delegates.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to me like it was a long time, but I'm sure it was, only a sort of a second or two.
Right.
And so I just football kicked him down the other end of the hall while we had his leg up.
Awesome.
And then it's like, stop, turn around, face the other way, and I'm like, well, that worked well. I'm thinking I'm not going to grade. That's awesome. I'm going to get disqualified now. And anyway, it turns out they failed my brother, and I got 2 stripes on my yellow belt for drop kicking this kid across the other end of the hall. So that was pretty positive.
Okay.
Yeah, but after that, we came home with my brother, and we just used to pretty much kick the crap out of each other. And I think he kicked me in the throat one day, and then Mum said, "That's it. You guys are done. No more karate. You're going to kill each other." And that was the end of martial arts for a very long time. So then my later years, I took up bodybuilding because I went to school with a friend, and he was, your typical story, kicking sand in your face kind of person at the beach. He wasn't as big as a dwindly little guy, and everyone used to pick him, and he started going to the gym and working out, bodybuilding style. And he showed up at the swimming pool, which is what you used to do back in the day. You would go to the pools, right? Yeah. And he looked buff, and it was like, holy dooly, that's a transformation and a half. So he impressed me, and I started going to training bodybuilding after that. So I started going to Sam Ioannidis. He was the Australian. He was one of the Australians. He was Mr. Universe, actually, I think.
Oh, wow.
So I used to go to his gym, and that was all old school weights. And end up just training there for 14 years and, getting big. Yeah, so I competed a few times and decided that this is a bit tough because everyone's taking drugs, and when you're doing it naturally, you're shrinking and they're growing while you're dieting. Yeah, so it was a bit hard to compete with the other guys, but I did go in a few. I think the last one I went in was the Victoria Mr. Naturals. I think it was.
Okay.
I can't remember now. 1990, I think. Mr. Natural, and because I've been training for so many years naturally, but I've got fairly dense bone structure. So I was pretty big, and the other guys, because of the natural competition, they were all dweeby, kind of skinnier.
Mm-hmm.
They polygraph you. That's how they test if you're on drugs. So they didn't do any drug testing. They actually sit you on a polygraph and ask you, your baseline questions. And they polygraphed me 3 times because they didn't believe I was natural. And the other guys were, because, you show up in your tracksuit and you got all this fake tan crap on your face. And the other guys looking, going, if this guy is ripped, we're in trouble. But I didn't really take it too seriously because it was one of my last comps I was going in. I was having Mexican 3 times a week. And I think I still placed 3rd in that because I didn't peak in shape.
Wow.
But it was the last foray, and I'm like, I'm a bit bored of this now. What else am I going to do? And back then there was the Blitz magazines, which I think John Will started it, but at that stage Silvio Morelli had bought into it, and that was a martial art magazine. So because we had a lot of friends that were, we used to go to school with people that are in the magazines, would look in the magazines, and I'm like, I need to start a martial art. What am I going to do? And I flipped to the back, and you look in this ad. It was the weirdest ad. I don't even know why I picked it, but it was, probably 3 inches by 3 inches square, black and white, black writing, white paper, and big word up the top, Kenpo. And it just had long and short forms practice. That was it. And a phone number. And I'm like, Kenpo, that sounds good. I'll try that.
And you said that was about a 14-year break between when you left Taekwondo and then you started Kenpo?
Let's see. No, long break, because I did that when I was 9, 10. Only did it for half a year or maybe a year. Maybe, I don't know. Not sure how long it took back then to get a belt. Mm-hmm. And I started bodybuilding in my teen years. And then I think I took up martial arts when I was 23 or 24, I would say. Okay. Let's see. Let's do the math. Would you like to do the math? Yes, we do. Let me do a quick bit of math for you there, Brian. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, well, it was 33 years ago that I stopped doing bodybuilding, and I did that for 14 years. So,
okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. I got to ask in the Taekwondo when you're doing the grading, and they said they just said a kid's name, and then everyone with that name came up. So, was there quite a few kids that was the only name? Like they said, Brian.
Yeah. It was adults too, though. It was like I think I got up, and there would have been 20 Peters. Like it was popular back then.
Okay.
Yes. And
do you think, with your knowledge now of martial arts, back then, do you think it would have been easier to go with a group of other people, or hopefully you were the only one with that name? I mean, obviously you kind of watched the other people, so that probably helped you going with other people.
Correct. I think, for others, if they're grading with other people, I think it helps. I mean, with Kenpo, you can't grade on your own unless they're providing your bodies to do self-defense techniques on. But I think a grading on your own is definitely harder. Oh, yeah. I've had one of those. It's probably my hardest grading.
Yeah.
But group grading,
I know my instructor, though, is always with our student. He's like, when he sees them watching the other, he's like, why are you watching them? What if they do it wrong? So then you both fail. So
what's going to do it? I'll be doing it better than what I was doing because I wasn't remembering anything.
That is true. Nice. Okay. So then when you saw this Kenpo ad, how long was it before you called the number? Did you do it right away?
Called it straight away. Yeah, I just rang it straight away. And it was Greg England was the instructor, and he was who I ended up with, Tony Angus, that was one of his first black belts.
Okay.
So he started, I've sort of got to go back. Tony Angus, I think, brought Kenpo to the state of Victoria in Melbourne. Okay. In Australia. So to our state, because I can't find anybody else that predates him. And everybody is sort of connected to him in one way, shape or form. And with other people interstate, he's sort of the pinnacle, I would say, that started it here. So he went and did a student exchange. His mother was a teacher, and they did a student exchange in America. I think it was Colorado or somewhere. Mm-hmm. And the family from Colorado came here, and then they went over there. And so he sort of had to go to America, and they were over there, so she was teaching, so he was studying over there, and then he just found a martial art, and he studied under Doc Lelliott, so John Lelliott. Mm-hmm. So that was his where he got his black belt. So when he came here, when I met him, he was a 2nd degree, and when I interviewed him, he sort of says, well, it's a bit different. It wasn't a there wasn't a probationary black, and there wasn't this and there wasn't that. So there was a little bit of debate, but that's here nor there.
So at that time, had you heard of Kenpo before? Did you know anything about it?
Nothing. Didn't know anything about it. So I rang Greg Angwin. So he's a student of Tony's. Tony started, he brought it here, started a school in Bendigo, and he joined the police force, and then he pretty much handed the school over to Mr. Greg Angwin. Mm-hmm. So he was running the school in Bendigo. So he was the one, he was a pretty good businessman, had a bit of a business mind, was able to, run stuff pretty well. He started teaching, because Bendigo is a country town. It's probably about a 2.5 hour drive from main Melbourne.
Okay.
And but he decided he would open up a school in Melbourne area, but up northern suburbs. Mm-hmm. So he would drive 2 hours to teach a class, new school, additional to the school he had in the country, just try and spread out and grow his school. So I rang his number, and he said, sure, come down, do a class. So I drove up. It was like over an hour's drive to get there. Mm-hmm. Driving around this, it was a football field and with a community hall, and it was all starting to get pretty pitch black, and there was no lights on, and I'm driving with my car, and I'm looking around. I'm like, this is dodgy. Anyway, there were 3 guys standing at the front, and they were the 3 guys that I ended up training with when I finally got in. And I said, stop the car, wound the window down, and said, excuse me, guys, do you know where there's like a Kenpo thing here? And they're like, yeah, you're at the right place. The instructor just shut the school down because not enough students, and he's got to drive away from the country, so he's wound it all up. And I'm like, oh, fantastic, right? So I got on the phone and rang him and gave him an earful. Mm-hmm. Telling him how unprofessional he was and how he's inviting people to come to him, not letting him know he's shutting the school, blah, blah, blah. And that must have struck a chord with him. And he gave me Mr. Angus's phone number, who was my first Kenpo instructor.
Okay.
And so I rang him and asked him, and he said, yeah, sure, come down. And he was in the eastern suburbs. So I'm like, great, okay. So I went, I'll just go out. It was like an hour's drive to go there. So I went to my first Kenpo class, and he was teaching Lelliott / Tracy. You didn't know any of that back then. Didn't know anything. Didn't know who Ed Parker was or any of that stuff when you're a beginner. I went to my first class, and I just come out of bodybuilding. Like I had 22-inch arms. I was big. And anyway, they kicked the shit out of me. It was good. I pretty much went home almost crying, going, I've got to learn this stuff. This is pretty good. And they knew where to hit me and all the rest of it. And I went, that's it. I'm hooked. Give me more. And I haven't left Kenpo ever since. So I ended up staying there with Mr. Angus for quite a while, and I had a job where I used to travel. So Mr. Angus then went through a few different stages with his systems. It was Tracy Lelliott, then that started going a little bit kickboxing. Then he decided to join. I think when I first started, there was 40 techniques for yellow belt. So it was Tracy's system. Then he was on the cusp of just changing it to more the, I think, 11 techniques.
Okay.
More like I think he shortened the whole system. So he sort of broke it up with Tracy / Parker stuff, but I don't think he even knew it was Tracy / Parker back then. He was sort of picking techniques and stuff.
Okay.
Because they're all still pretty fresh back then. And it was good. So I just went to every class, never missed a class, trained like a demon.
How many nights a week was that then?
There's only 2 nights a week, but I would just train at home.
Okay.
Practicing and stuff. And, it's like once you're hooked, you're hooked. Like we keep saying, Kenpo's, there's no in between with Kenpo. You either love it or you hate it. Yeah. But it was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. And once he joined a few different groups, let's see, he then joined up with the gentleman, John Van Wyck, which I think Greg Angwin found. Because Greg Angwin might progress, and Mr. Angus was a 2nd degree, Greg was a 1st degree. They wanted to progress in their rank because of the schools, and he found John Van Wyck. And so we joined his group, which is Oz Kenpo, or Kenpo Karate Australia. And, so he trained, I think he was a jiu-jitsu practitioner, stand-up, old-school jiu-jitsu, not BJJ.
Japanese.
And, he was a big bricklayer, big burly guy. Yeah, it was pretty good. And he joined his organisation, and at that stage, we were shifting syllabus. So even from day one when I started, we had one syllabus, and then wasn't long we changed syllabus. So you had to go back to the start and learn again. And then once we started doing that, he decided he's going to bring the Tracy stuff back in and say for, yellow belt, you had yellow belt techniques that were like Parkerish techniques. And then he would have another belt, which would be the Tracy techniques, and all you get was a stripe for it.
Oh, okay.
So you'd have like double belted kind of system, but you'd learn both Parker and Tracy techniques. So
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't really care about belts. I want to learn the stuff. So I did all the stripes, all the belts, and everyone else is like, I'm not doing all that just for a stripe. They just went through the belts, you know.
So it was optional and you didn't have to do it?
You didn't have to do it.
Okay.
It was only if you want to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I just want the information. So I did all the stripes, and so it was pretty good. And then he hooked up with John Van Wyck, and my status changed, and had a lifestyle change, and I changed jobs, and I had a pretty high flying job, and I had to travel for work. So the plan was I was going to move interstate to Western Australia, the other end of the country, and it turned out that the boss said, you don't need to move, because you're going to be travelling anyway. So I based myself in Melbourne, but I was pretty much on a plane every 2 weeks to some godforsaken country going to a mine site.
Wow.
Because I was coming from the mining industry.
Mm-hmm.
So the head office was up in Sydney, which is where Mr. John Van Wyck was. So because I was pretty good on computer, I did a lot of web design, graphic design. Like I threw myself into the internet pretty hard when it arrived. Like I think in 1992, there was only 3 or 4 Kenpo websites on the internet, and we were one of them.
Okay.
So I think there was PC Woods, which is an excellent website that had all the information. That was good. So Mr. PC Woods, if you're listening, great job there. Was spreading information. And I think Brian Hawkins, after talking to him, they did have a site, because I remember seeing it. So his guys had a website up, and even he says in his interview, what's this thing? He says, this is how people are going to find us. He's like, oh, okay.
Nice.
He's very relaxed, Mr. Hawkins. This is pretty good. Like, okay, we're just talking about it. I said, I remember you guys had a site. He goes, yeah, my guys did that. And they told me, they told me, and they said, there's only a few websites. And I said, well, I was Oz Kenpo, OZ Kenpo. And he went, oh, yeah, okay, very cool. And I created Oz Kenpo, and then I put up, I think, the steps for the short greeting and long greeting. Then I started pretending to be, I didn't even know it at the time, I was pretending to be Google. I started to cross-link every Kenpo website I could find on the internet or information and post a link on our page so people could, connect. And anyone that was a senior, maybe connect their email and all that sort of stuff. So I was really pushing to connect and grow the art through the internet. Yeah, so we were one of the first few sites back in 92 to have an internet website on Kenpo. That was pretty cool. And because I had that skill, that took Mr. Van Wyck's interest, because he was okay on computer, but he wasn't as skilled as I was. So we decided that we would do a trade-off, and he would give me private lessons, and I would teach him web stuff, any computer stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was also back then I was good at video editing. This is all before all this fancy stuff now. So I could knock together custom videos and things like that. So we had an agreement, and the head office for my company was half an hour from where he was. So I used to get a half an hour flight. I would fly up for a meeting. I would say to the wife, I'm not coming back till Sunday night. And I would stop in Sydney and stay at his house, and he would teach me Kenpo, and I would teach him computers. And so I would bring back the information, because his system was a good experience. His system was, he was in the what if phase continually. Is it going to work? What if this? What if that? So he kept changing his techniques. Sometimes it'd be, every visit I'd come back with a different version of a technique, because he would adapt it to a different situation. And I think that was a bit frustrating for my instructor, because he was the head instructor, and now you've got, I think I might have been I reckon, when did I start traveling up there? Maybe I started traveling when I was a purple, but I think at blue and green, I'm now learning the stuff from him, bringing it back to the studio, and then saying, that's not what they're doing right now. That would frustrate the crap out of my instructor, because he's the one that's supposed to be, you know what I mean? I can understand that.
Oh, yeah.
But I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to get the information, and I had the opportunity and the means, and that's what I did. And I think I got my purple belt from him, because we're all together, and I graded in his den.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, let's see. We've got a few good stories, actually, for John Van Wyck, because when we joined him, we would jump in a car, 3 of us, and so it was myself, it was Nolly Katura, who's my Habibi brother, and Tony Angus, and we would drive. So we'd take turns in whose car we took, and we would drive to Sydney. That's a 10-hour straight drive. So we'd finish work, we'd drive through the night, get there at 1 a.m., sleep in his den, and then wake up and start training for 12 hours straight, every day. And then we would get in our car on a Sunday and drive back through the night and then get up and go to work the next day kind of thing. So we were sort of hungry for the information.
Nice.
And we would just go and all travel together. Good little niche. And one event, he would have these big gatherings up in Sydney. So we would go up there and I think we had a red belt. That's a weird story. We had a red belt in between yellow and orange. Mr. Angus introduced it. And at red belt, you would learn nunchucks.
Okay.
And that was pretty cool. The reason I bring it up is it goes into the story with Mr. Van Wyk when we travelled up there. So I'm a red belt when we first met. And he had a grading up there, black belt grading. So we all drove up there to do training and then attend the grading. Anyway, I'm standing with my instructor. So I'm just come out of bodybuilding, wasn't a little guy, wearing a red belt, and there's probably 150 people at this grading watching, probably a handful of black belts testing, and everybody staring at me. And I'm like, looked at my instructor and I said, is my fly undone or something? Like, why is everybody staring at me? And he goes, it's your belt. They don't know where you fit in because there's no red belt here. And I'm like,
okay.
Okay, right. Well, I'm just going to milk this, aren't I? So, yeah, they had no idea, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to prance around like whatever, it was hilarious. So I thought, because we're a comedic kind of guy, we'd just prance around and just milk that for all it was worth.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. But he had a set of black belts grading. That was probably one of the first Kenpo black belt gradings in Sydney that I've been to, and they were doing a technique. I can't remember what it was, but they took me to the ground and they did a heel stomp right in the middle of my thigh. I think it was like gallbladder 30-something pressure point, and hit the spot, and, the corker in the side of the thigh.
Yeah.
That just lit me up. I could not walk. I'm like, wow, this stuff really works. It's pretty cool. But, yeah, so I was limping around for the rest of that grading. I'm like, oh, that was good.
Nice.
But, yeah. So from Mr. Van Wyk, let's see. I think I got to my first brown with Mr. Angus, because when I used to travel up there, it would sort of intermingle between the two. I think I'd graded with my second brown up in Sydney with Mr. Van Wyk, and it was he had two other gentlemen with him. Part of his organisation was Mr. Mike Krim, and he was a really nice gentleman. And yeah, he was pretty good just to look after all the students and stuff. And then Mr. Greg McAuliffe, he's pretty good too, and he's got a reputation that people would come to the pub where you go to drink. You call it a bar over there, and they would come up and test him at the bar.
Okay.
And, he would, sort them out and then tell them classes on, Mondays to Wednesdays they can come down and learn. But we're at his studio, I think, and I was shooting a self-defense video for Mr. Van Wyk. So he was going to he got the domain selfdefenseonline.com. And he was going to roll out this big website, which I was helping him with, was going to be online self-defense. And we're talking, would have been like mid-90s, I reckon. So mid-90s, he's already looking at self-defense online website that people could subscribe to and all sort of stuff. So it's sort of like what everyone's doing now, 30 years later. He was doing it back then. So he was pretty innovative with his ideas and with my videoing experience and everything else. So we made a deal, and he said, if you come and shoot the video for me, I will grade you for free, as long as it's okay with your instructor. And he was like, yeah, that's cool. So I flew up there. We shot all these videos for his self-defense website, and then we tested. But we were at Mr. McAuliffe's studio, and he was there doing some renovations, and I think it was a really hot day, and his place was under a tin roof. So I think the temperature was 40 degrees C, which I think is about 109, 110 your language.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, okay, let's go. You're going to grade here at Mr. McAuliffe's. So on my own, it's 40 degrees outside, and I'm under a tin roof. I'm wearing a 16-ounce gi, so I'm sweating just standing there, let alone doing anything. And I reckon it was one of the most grueling gradings I've had because of just the temperature and the heat stress. And then they were like, okay, you're from Melbourne. You want to grade with us? We're gonna make you earn it. Like it was almost a little bit of a hazing exercise kind of thing. It wouldn't I don't think it'd go too well these days. But he had a few of their black belts there, and but I held my own. It was pretty good. In one, I think I keep talking about, in one instance, they put me in a circle, and said, you got one move. You turn, open your eyes, and whatever attack the person throws at you, you got one move to stop it. That's it, nothing else. And okay, so get in a circle, and one's an uppercut, one's this, one's that. Anyway, I turned around, one of the guys has got a full-fledged front snap kick, full power on its way as I opened my eyes, and I'm like, holy dooly. So I came down with an inward overhead elbow, was the only thing I could think of, right on his shin, and just dropped in a cat stance and popped up a massive hematoma on his shin. So that slowed him down a bit. So the hazing slowed down a little bit. And then I had to spar 3 of them together. And you could tell that they were upset at the guys because they weren't kicking the crap out of me. They go like, get him. And it's like, and it was a little bit, they were happy that I was doing well, and they were giving their guys curry because they couldn't, get the better of me kind of thing. So it was a pretty good experience. It's like, come on, get him. You guys are hopeless. Attack him. Come on. And I'm like, it was good. In the end, I finally got there. And then he turns around to Mr. McAuliffe and he goes, he knows book set. And he's like, what? Okay, all right, let's see book set. So I had to do book set at the end, which we did with Mr. Angus. He taught me that, and that was it. They gave me my second degree, and I'm like, okay, that was tough. Like, I don't know how I didn't pass out a heat stroke or anything like that. But,
yeah.
When they gave me a 2-minute break, I just went and shoved my head under the tap for a minute. That's how hot it was. But it was good. It was good grading. Good story to tell others. But
definitely,
we had many moments like that with that crew, and then I think Mr. Angus was looking for other avenues, and he decided to hook up with Mr. Speakman because he started his AKKS.
Mm-hmm.
So I just pretty much went wherever my instructor went, and he joined Mr. Speakman, and by that stage we were I didn't get as much tuition from him. I think my first Brown was the last bit of tuition I got from him, and then we would get, as a small senior, closer to the source of the information. So when they would come out, I would be there with him going through the stuff. And then when Mr. Speakman came out, we decided that I wanted to teach kids because I was teaching for my instructor. There was a gentleman called Dwayne McGee that was out here. He's from America. I think he's an ex-stuntman from the movies. And he came to Australia. He started teaching down in the area where I live now and started a Kenpo club. And he joined the AKKS, which was with Mr. Speakman. And I think something happened. His visa ran out or something. He had to leave the country. And then the students rang, the head of the representative for the AKKS, who was in Sydney, Tom Cullen, and said, we love this stuff. We don't have an instructor. Where do we get an instructor? So he rang my instructor and said, you got anyone to send down there? And so my instructor said, okay, there's some guys down in this area. Anyone interested in going down and teaching? So there was a gentleman called Tony Billman. He put his hand up, and I put my hand up as well. I went, I'm going to move down that way. I want somewhere to train. This would be great. So we jointly went down and started teaching these guys Kenpo. I think I was a brown belt at that stage. So yeah, probably a second brown, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we went down to teach these guys Kenpo because I missed an instructor. So that was down in the Moorabbin area. So from there we had teaching these guys, and we had a big event happen which sort of fractured the school. So we used to go down there and just run. We would alternate. He would teach one week, I would teach another week. I had the advent of my twins were born, so I was running around like crazy, And I think I taught like 4 weeks or 5 weeks straight. And Tony said, why don't you go home to your family? I'll take class for a few weeks now. And I went, fantastic. He did that, and I think I'm forever grateful he did that because we had a gentleman in class who was a heavy smoker, heavy drinker, wasn't taking his blood pressure medication. They were warming up, and he ended up, just from the warm-up, not in the techniques, luckily, he ended up having a massive heart attack and dying in class.
Wow.
So I decided to stay home. I get a phone call from Tony's wife. She rings and says, one of the guys has hit the deck and we can't revive him. And I'm like, holy dooly, I'll be down there in, it took an hour to get there. I think I was there in like 25 minutes.
Wow.
Because it was a long way away. And so I rang my instructor and I said, we've got an issue. We've had this guy pass away in class, and I didn't like the response he gave me. I didn't think it was right. And I pretty much said to him to make sure he beats me down there. It's his name on the door. So we got down there, and the poor gentleman, he didn't make it. And that was pretty devastating, I think, more for Tony than me. But I was grateful it wasn't me because I had no first aid training.
Yeah.
Like I would have no idea what to do. So then I sort of started to get a bit angry because, how am I allowed to teach and not have any skills or training when there's going to be a medical issue with people. So I just made it law in our school that you get your, I think it's your second Brown before you'll sort of interact and teach. You must have your certified CPR license.
Okay.
Over here. So you got to do that every year over here in our state. And to get your black belt, you must have your CPR and you got to be level 2 first aid qualified. Otherwise, you're not grading, period. That was one of the things I would never budge on since that. But I think that fractured the school and everyone decided to go their own way. Things didn't go well. Tony went off and started his own school and joined up with Mr. Tommy Chavies. He's doing well. And I decided while we were still doing that, I was talking to my instructor because we were Mr. Speakman, and Tom Cullen had a program called Kenpo for Kids. He's really good at business and marketing, things like that. So perfect representative because he could get people together. When it came to Kenpo, he was okay, but his skill was in business negotiating and handling people.
Yeah.
You know? So I decided that I like this kids thing because we're actually teaching out of a primary school hall. I said to my instructor, I'd like to start teaching kids as well because we're only teaching adults for him. And he said, look, you've got experience, you've done the adults, just make that your own thing. Go start your own school. And that's when the advent of personal self-defense was born. So I registered the name and then started teaching kids, and then the school started to flourish from there because money's in teaching children, not adults these days.
Yeah.
Adults love job and children's what pay the bills. So anyway, the school was not a great location is what I found in the end. That was a lesson we had to learn for a few years. Even though it did well, the location was not great. So we ran a kids program, and that went really well. The Kenpo for Kids is very well organised, great marketing, good connections, and next thing you know, everyone's wanting to run a Kenpo for Kids school. It's sort of like doing Step Reebok, right? Everyone wants to do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So then other people were like, okay, well, you can teach kids. And so I think in the end I think Tom Cullen made me the state director for Kenpo for Kids. He said, director is used loosely. There's nothing that comes with it apart from all the work you got to do, and if something goes wrong, you get all the responsibility, I suppose. But it was like a representative down here. So then we started having other people want to open up kids' schools. And before you know, we had like 5 locations, people teaching kids. The adults would then come with that. So you would teach the kids in Kenpo for Kids, and then you would feed them into the AKKS, which is working quite well. And I think Mr. Speakman decided that he wanted to change what he was doing and take the whole kids and adults all under his program. And so Mr. Cullen decided to move on from there. I think they had a parting of the ways. When I stuck with my instructor and Mr. Speakman, and then started training directly with Mr. Speakman when he came out and tested for my black with him. So I think it was there was the last grading they did in Australia, and tested with four of us tested together. It was me, myself, Nolly. It was Tony Perez and Peter Kelly. So Pete's in Sydney and Tony's in Queensland. We were all together through the Kenpo for Kids program. He came out, he tested us, and he said he wasn't too happy with it. And he said, it's provisional, you got to retest when I come out. I'm like, that's fine, whatever. I'm good. If I'm not good enough, don't give it to me. Or if you want me to retest, no problem. So 2 of the other guys weren't happy with it. They said, one said, well, I'm not giving it back unless you give my money back. We got a thing called fair trading in this country. And if you don't provide services or you want to retract services, then you got to make a refund. So he took that route. And the other gentleman said that he took the high road and sent the belt back, which I know he didn't. So that's a whole different story. So it was only myself and Mr. Coutura. We trained and retested with Mr. Speakman, and he gave us the nod when he came back out and said that we are, definitely black belts with him and all the rest. But he was now on a mission to convert everyone over to the AKKS and move everyone away from Tom Cullen. So he was then bringing in the 5.0 system, which we started working with, and that was with when Trevor Sherman brought all the original stuff to him. And he said, you need to make a choice. You can't have a foot in both camps. You're either with me or you're over there. And I didn't like the direction of the ground fighting stuff. I was more a stand-up guy. So I decided to part, because he said, if you want to, we can shake hands and stay friends, or you have to come with me, with a lot of caveats. And I went, I'll just take the shake hands and be friends option. It's not the journey that I want to take. So that's the road I took from there. And then the guys from that left started Kenpo Karate Australasia and asked me to come across to help them grow the art from their organisation. And that would be all the people that didn't go across to Speakman would be going into that organisation there.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I ended up becoming the state director for Kenpo for Kids, which I already was, and then Kenpo Karate Australasia. So you didn't realise at the time, there seemed to be a lot of franchise marketing, business systems, let's get you in, give you titles, make you work kind of thing to build a franchise brand. That was I think back then that's how it was sort of done, and I think Tom Cullen was good at that. So I ended up becoming the Kenpo Karate Australasian director for Victoria and the Kenpo for Kids. And then I think in 2008 or 2007, I think, or 6, I met Mr. Lelliott. They brought him out because they'd parted companies. They got their black belts with Mr. Speakman, and then they didn't retest. And I think they joined with Mr. Lelliott to test for their next rank. That's when I met Mr. Lelliott. I went, this guy's pretty cool, down-to-earth guy. I like him. I like the way he does his Kenpo, how he teaches. And he turned to me and said, I like the way you move, my boy. And I said, well, you move all right too. And we sparked a friendship from there. So I still didn't join him, but I heard that he had a camp. And in 2007, I saved up all my biscuits from the club and flew to the camp and said to him, look, I don't have an instructor anymore, but I've been training. I have a school. Can I come to your camp and can you assess me? And if I'm good enough, can I grade with you? And if this works out, then we'll start a student-instructor relationship. And he said, sure, my boy. So I flew out in 2007 to his studio and his camp, and we've been together ever since.
Nice.
And through his camp, he has a biannual camp, and he has just the who's who of Kenpo come to the camp, and that's where I've met a lot of connections and trained with a lot of people and made a lot of good friendships. And that's allowed me to spread my wings through Kenpo through that relationship.
And how long did you run your school for?
It only shut down just before COVID, so it was open since 2000. Hang on, I'll tell you this. Let me look at the business name up here. Okay, 2012 is when I registered the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, 2020.
School shut down during COVID, 2019.
Okay.
Ended 2019. That's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
But we're still around. We're not a full-time school. I've got 2 guys that I promised I'd get them a black belt. So we're working with them at the moment. So
Okay.
Back at training, but it's more private. Now I teach who I want to teach. I'm not a commercial school that has to make sacrifices. I can just pick what I want to do.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, but my thing is to travel and train and meet Kenpoists and learn from different people.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool. So we had the school, and then we traded with Mr. Speakman. I met Mr. Lelliott. We shook hands with Mr. Speakman and said we'll still be friends. And moved on, had no instructor for a little while, then hooked up with Mr. Lelliott, went to his camp, and ever since then we've been friends. In 2007, I met Mr. Ed Parker Jr., and we hit it off like a house on fire. I think
Nice.
we were in the meals area or the main dining hall till 5 a.m. talking.
I can see that.
Just, like the staff said, well, where all the lights are, we went, yep. But I was just on adrenaline and pumped to be over at the Mecca of Kenpo, meeting all these people, training, meeting all the names that you heard of. I think 5:30, I was in bed, 7 a.m. I was up for boot camp. I was just running on adrenaline. I think by the 3rd night, I couldn't stay up. I was just burnt out. But I was just trying to take in as much as I could and meet as many people as I could. So after that friendship with Mr. Ed Parker Jr., I arranged for him to come to Australia. So we actually had him come out. So we had a Kenpo for Kids World Championship that we would get everyone together that was in the group, and the kids would compete, and we'd bring out a guest instructor, and then that guest instructor would end up flying around the country and doing seminars, like on a circuit. So in 2008, we had it in Melbourne, and I arranged for Ed Parker Jr. to come out to that, and that was pretty cool. And I think after that year, I think it was a year later, we decided to part companies with the Kenpo for Kids and the Kenpo Karate Australasia brand, due to a few differences that we had on how I thought things should run, standards and all the rest of it, and they had different ideas. And I had decided to just do my own thing and stay with Mr. Lelliott, and it's been pretty cool ever since.
Nice.
Best decision we've ever made. So yeah.
Have you ever considered writing a book?
It's funny you say that, because I've been making a lot of notes and stuff, and I think that might be on the horizon because there's a lot of stuff that, if I look at the amount of people that I've met and different people I've trained with, different lineages, different martial artists, even different styles, and I'm like, there's a lot of stuff there. And even when I travel, it's good to see that it's still got a different outtake on, like everyone always has something valuable to teach. And I'm like, I was just thinking about that the other day. Maybe I should do a book. Like, am I at that stage yet? I don't know. So I think, I've been making notes. Let's just say that. So
that's good.
It might be on the horizon. Yeah.
Keep me updated. I'll be waiting to hear that.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
But, yeah.
How about over your 30-plus year career, a favorite philosophy or a philosophy that's just super important to you?
Well, be true to yourself.
Okay.
I would say probably one of the most profound things that anyone's said, well, one of them was Mr. Lelliott when I first met him. It was seek the center line. And I'm like, in Kenpo, that's critical. You got to look for the person's center line when you're training, and that's the point that they're most weakest in their base. And that was just simple lines that you were looking for some terminology to use with your students. He just comes along and blurts out a few words and you're like, oh, okay. So that was a good one. And the other one was I did an interview with, I should know his name. I'm just drawing a blank right now. One of the Irish gentlemen, and let me see if I can find it. And because I asked them like you ask, you got any mantras? And he said, don't settle for good enough when excellence is right next to it.
Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, that's dead
good.
on.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is like, and that's like, you see that in everyday life, you see it at work, because I'm I'm a product manager for a mining company, but I'm also the quality manager there as well. And so I have a graphic of two cavemen that are pushing a cart with square wheels and they're busting a hump. And there's another caveman behind them with a round wheel trying to convince them to, hey, use this. And they were, sorry, we're too busy. Nice. And that's the whole, and I have that saying underneath that says, don't settle for good enough when excellence is right next to it.
I like it.
I'm just looking through trying to find it. Should remember his name, but I'm drawing a blank right now.
It's okay.
It's like you trying to flick through your episodes, right?
Yep.
Mr. John Ward. He was a 9th degree at that stage, and now I think he's been promoted to 10th. Really nice guy. Yeah, great advice. And that was probably one of the, be true to yourself. Don't compromise. Your integrity is probably the thing. And I keep saying that to the students. We talk about what you say is what you must do. So, if you say something and you do something else, the difference between the two is your lack of integrity that everyone sees. Because I think gone are the days of old when someone gave you their word and you knew it was going to happen kind of thing. Because people just tell you whatever now. Next thing you know, it's just not the truth anymore. But yeah, I would say that.
Talk about Mind Sensei. Talk about the podcast and kind of like where people can hear it, what kind of stuff they're going to hear on there if they tune in.
Okay. Well, let me start with where it began.
Okay.
2014, I saved up all my biscuits all year from running in the dojo, and I said to the wife, I'm flying to Texas, and I'm going to this karate camp, Kenpo camp. And Mr. Lee Wedlake was running a camp in Bandera, San Antonio, Texas, and I had been to Texas before, so it was a pretty expensive trip. So I saved up all my biscuits and went to that camp. And at the camp, it was a memorial camp for Sibok Tom Kelly. And Sigung Steve Labani was still around at that stage. Okay. And I'd met him at Mr. Lelliott's camps before, but I just wanted to get to the camp and meet some more Kenpoists and Kenpoists from different parts of the world and get to meet. There's a group of Kenpoists who call ourselves the Progressive Kenpo Systems, which is under Mr. Lee Wedlake's lineage, and there's a group of us all together, black belts, with the instructors under that lineage, and we get together at the camp, so I wanted to meet the rest of the guys in the group. So I flew all the way over there and did the seminars, and that night, Sigung Steve Labani starts telling his story by the campfire of how he got started with Tom Kelly and how Huck Planas came along with that. And it was just a poignant moment in time. And I pulled out my phone because I walk around with cameras, phones, recording devices. Like I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they call me a Kenpo paparazzi. And so I pulled out my phone to record the conversation because I wanted to take it back home with me, because when you travel, you get so much information and you're burnt out when you fly home. When you come home, everyone asks you what you've learnt and seen and done. I can go back to it and have a look. And so I recorded his whole story. It was just brilliant. It was just, you could hear the campfire crackling and it was very quiet, and he told the whole story. And this is even before podcasts were sort of around. And Sigung unfortunately passed away, and the recording just popped up on my phone. I'm like, oh, it's recording. I started listening to it again. I'm like, holy dooly, this is gold. This is a podcast on its own, or a story. So then I'm like, I contacted some of Sigung's students and said, look, how would you like to hear his voice one more time? I didn't put it too well because I must have thought I was a nut job, because I said, how would you like to listen to his voice one more time forever? And the phone went silent. And I said, look, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm not a nut job. I just recorded him telling his story. And I thought you would like to hear that and have that. And they were forever grateful that I did that and recorded it. So on one hand, some people, I know some of the seniors, they might listen to this, they will confirm that Mr. Lelliott says, I'm the kind of guy that'll make you come out of your comfort zone and do things you don't want to do, and I'm a bit of a pain in the ass. But it's for a reason. Now we have this recording that everyone really loves. So that was the start of the podcast, because I went, why are we waiting for these guys to disappear before we have this? Like, I was lucky enough to record it while he was still here. Yeah. Why are we waiting till they're gone to understand that their stories need to be shared? And I went, right, okay, I'm going to take that mantle. I'm just going to record posterity and history of all our seniors in our system and share it with the people. And I know that I've been fortunate that I've had a pretty good life, and I've got a good enough job and I can travel, but everyone is not in that boat. There's people in, in other countries that are less fortunate than us that, they love Kenpo. And, they want the information like we do, but they don't have the luxury of traveling. So podcast was a way to share all the stories and all the great things that I got, when I traveled by the campfire, that we could sort of share with these guys. And it's also straight from the horse's mouth. There's no denying they said it. The story is directly from them. And then, like yourself, but you don't have as structured questions as I do. Mine are more specific for a reason. I did pinch a lot of questions from your podcast because I sort of, was really impressed with your podcast. But I structured a set of questions so that it builds a jigsaw puzzle to what is Ed Parker's American Kenpo and its history and lineage. So when everyone comes on, they're asked similar questions, and you can now put the pieces of the puzzle together on where everything started, who trained with what. And if anyone's story doesn't gel, it doesn't fit the puzzle. It contradicts. And I must say, every guest I've had, no one has contradicted what another guest has said. So it's been pretty good. Yeah. And it's helped me understand it as well. So, like yourself, it's a little bit self-serving because you enjoy talking to people. And I'd have to say, everyone I've interviewed, we'd ended up becoming really good friends. So for me, I've met some of the greatest people I know through Kenpo.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And this just helps you expand that. So that's sort of where the podcast started. And then I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I don't do things by halves. So I started investigating and doing lots, looking up different mics like you and all the rest of it, and what software and what platform and all of that rigmarole. And we got started, and so I made sure the first podcast I did was my instructor.
Nice.
And I'm glad I did that because I have that record. But the funny thing was, I had one of the Zoom microphones. They're pretty good. The Zoom mic, the portable ones.
Yep.
So it was a high-end mic, but still being a newbie at the podcasting game, we sat out in the backyard on a glass table, and I put the microphone on the glass table and just drilled him for questions. So sometimes you hear dogs barking in the background and other people laughing and the table vibrating and things like that. But we've come a long way since then.
Yeah, definitely.
And then it's just more meeting other people. So I just went through the list of just seniors that I know, that I've met, that we're friends with, and then they, like yourself, they would recommend other people. And I'm just trying to gather as much as I can. I'm happy we did it. Like I captured, if we look at, unfortunately, we had a few people that have moved on from us. I captured Sigung before he passed away. Then I captured Mr. Kanatsa, he's now passed away. I captured Joe Palazzo, he's now passed away. I captured Huck, he's passed away. So, we are getting to the pointy end of the thin end of the wedge with these masters because they're not young. Like, I think when Huck was here, he was getting close to 80, right? So they're not spring chickens, but you wouldn't know it because they're just still fit and they're doing well. But time moves on, you just don't know. So yeah, I just made it a point that I'm going to take that mantle and just drive that. So that's where the podcast started. So
okay,
that's what I've been doing.
On all the apps, they can find it on their favorite podcast.
That is on the apps.
Perfect.
Yeah, we host on Spotify, but it goes out to pretty much Apple. I started a YouTube channel now as well, and I'm posting full video episodes.
Okay.
But I think I started with my instructor, which was number 45.
Okay.
And since then, I've been doing... so it was Tony Angus's number 45. Since then, I've been doing video podcasts on Spotify that go out to the platforms, and then I'll upload it as well to YouTube. So if you're listening and you haven't subscribe on your Spotify, be nice, and then on our YouTube channel at the Mind Sensei podcast as well.
Cool. And I will obviously put links out for all that stuff when the episode comes out.
That'll be great. That'll be great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, you know what? I know you've heard these, but I have the fun questions used to wrap it up, and I'm looking forward to your answers because I know you're going to have some good ones. But what would your MMA walk-up music be? What song's playing as you're taking that walk?
The walk. Let me see. That's an interesting one, Brian.
You have like a favorite workout song? Do you have if you're driving, you hear the song, you just got to crank it? what's a pump up song for you?
Let me, well, I have to say I'm very partial to, it's a bit controversial, to Ice-T, Arrest the President. It's only because of the amount of bass that it has in it.
Nice. Hey, I like Ice-T.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Let's just pick that one. Yeah.
All right. How about your martial arts Mount Rushmore? 3-4 names on your martial arts Mount Rushmore.
Definitely got to be Ed Parker,
Bruce
Lee, Chuck Norris. Let's see. I've already with Mr. Lelliott, so I don't have to put him up there. He's already there. Ooh. I think the Gracies would be a good one to have as well. And I think that'll be. I think Mount Rushmore's got a few more than that, but I'm fortunate enough. Well, let's put Sigung up there, even though that I've trained with him.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. All right. How about a favorite martial arts book?
It'd have to be Zen in the Martial Arts, Joe Hyams, hands down.
Okay.
I mean, Infinite Insights as well.
Always.
Are brilliant. I mean, Mr. Parker was a genius. When you start reading his books and learn his system and figure out how he put everything together, you get to understand the mind that he had. But,
even if you don't study Kenpo, the Infinite Insight books are so good.
Correct.
They're so good.
Even I think when I got inducted, I mentioned it. I said, we have a book that's called the Encyclopedia of Kenpo.
Yes, I have that one.
It should just be called the Encyclopedia of Motion Science because it relates to anybody's art. It shouldn't be called Kenpo.
Yeah.
But I think even having that conversation with Ed Parker Jr. many, many times, when we had campfire chats with people, he said his father wished that he didn't call it Kenpo. He wished that he called it practical, logical thinking because it applies to anybody's art.
Nice. I like that. How about a favorite martial arts video game? Do you have an answer for that one?
That'd have to be Street Fighter.
Nice.
Street Fighter or no, Mortal Kombat, sorry. It'd be Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
Street Fighter was good. Yeah, we used to have, there's actually, because you used to have, I don't know what it was, the guy with the chain and the arrowhead on the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it at you and then say, get over here, and pull your heart out. It was always a good move. And there was also there was a female on it, and I don't know, we always thought that she used to say nipple fat on it for some reason. It was her call sign. I don't know. You have to go back to it and have a listen now.
I'm going to have to do that. Yeah. That's, wow, that's going to be in my head till I go back and listen now.
Well, we get together with friends because we used to play it back in the day, and when all our friends get together, we just yell that out every now and then, you know.
That's funny. Wow.
Just to break the mood.
I like it.
Yeah,
like
nipple fat.
All right. How about a favorite martial arts TV show?
Oh, there's a lot of them out there. I tend to agree with you. Warrior is very well done.
So good.
That story is brilliant. TV show, I like the Reacher series. So you can't.
Yeah.
And Reacher is who Reacher should have been.
Agreed.
I've got nothing against Tom Cruise.
I love Tom Cruise.
He's not a big guy, but Reacher should be a guy that picks you up and just pile drives you into the ground, which is...
I said I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan, but when that movie came out, like, no. Literally in the first page of every Reacher book, it says he's like 6'6", 250 pounds. That's not Tom Cruise.
Well, my brother he used to read the Anne Rice books, you know, Lestat the Vampire, Interview with a Vampire. And then when my brother found out that Tom Cruise had got the lead to Interview with a Vampire, he's like, no, he's 6 foot something. He's built, you know, he's He's this, he's that. He's not Tom Cruise. He was very upset by it, but I think Tom Cruise did a really good job in that movie.
Yeah.
But, like you said, I think the physical typecasting wasn't there.
Exactly. No, I agree. All right. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
That'd have to be a Perfect Weapon, wouldn't it? But I do love Showdown in Little Tokyo with Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren.
Yep.
And then probably one of the ones that I'm nostalgic and watch all the time, and my family doesn't understand why, is got to be Kung Fu Hustle.
Nice. I love it.
But I have...
it's a great movie.
Yeah, that's cool. But I used to travel for work. I was actually the national product manager, then I was the export product manager. And I used to travel to an Asian country probably 3 times a month, different country all the time. And I used to, back in the advent of those days, there were video CDs floating around.
Yep.
So being a Kenpo guy, I bought Street Night, Perfect Weapon, The Expert, like every Kenpo movie, Running Red, all the Speakman movies. I've got the actual video CDs of those. We used to watch them over and over and over, but that was pretty cool. So getting to train with Mr. Speakman was like a dream come true, because I used to watch The Perfect Weapon when I was younger and go, wow, wouldn't you love to move like this guy? He'd be training since he was a kid, to physically learning from him and, learning the Kenpo system and having to, finally sort of get there and be able to do some of the stuff. That was mind-blowing. So, yeah. So
do you have the movie for Kill the Golden Goose with Ed Parker?
I don't, but some of my friends do. Okay. They have it on video CD, but there are some links on Tubi and a few other places that can actually get it. Now, I've seen that. That's pretty cool. That's a classical Ed Parker. I think he's doing backbreaker, but he had a propensity to get his claws and rake and rip people's skin with his fingernails as he's doing techniques. And he's doing that, which a guy shows up and he's got big streak marks down his face.
Nice. All right. How about a favorite movie fight scene? Any movie you've ever seen?
Favorite movie fight scene? It'd have to be the Crackpit Club with Mr. Speakman.
Yes.
Right? He does, because that's one of the times where you see him and you recognize he does Grip of Death and a few other techniques in there.
I love when he goes up to that guy at the bar and hits him like what seems like 60 times.
Yeah. I think he did it. I think when we discussed it, he did it once and they just repeated it for him.
Nice.
Just repeated it. Like, who killed Kim?
Yes. That one and the club scene when he fights the Taekwondo guys. Those two are probably my two favorite fight scenes in that.
Yeah, that's going to have to be the best scene where he gets a guy and side kicks him in the groin. That's definitely Kenpo. Yeah.
I like it so much.
I can tell you a story about groin strikes. We had a gentleman at work. So this might not be for you younger listeners, but we had this gentleman at work, because I work for a mining company, so we build these massive steel slatted conveyors. They're called an apron feeder, but they're pretty much heavy-duty steel. Some of them, they'll go up to 240 tons of machine, in weight. So we're building these machines, and we had this gentleman who was working in the store. He was a big Tongan guy. Like, it was just man mountain. His arms were like my legs. Huge guy. And anyway, we commandeered him to help us build the machines, because we didn't need the crane. This guy could pick up stuff normal people could not pick up, and he would just grab it by hand and put it on the machine. So we would, be very efficient in labor hours, because we didn't have to go get the crane, bring it, lift it up, pick it, put it. He'd just pick it up and put it straight on the machine. So his Big Nick, his name was, and he's a pretty cool guy. And I used to rock up to work, and I had the magnets on the side of the car, and it would say personal self-defense, karate, martial arts, self-defense, pressure points, because I've done some Q show. And I came into the office and he saw me drive in, looked at it, and he comes in and he goes, "Hey, bro." And I had to look up to him to talk to him, because the guy was like about 6'4", and he was just a monster. And I go, "Yeah, mate." And he goes, "I see you do those pressure points, bro." And I said, "Yeah, that's right, mate. I do the pressure points." And he goes, "Can you show me that pressure point where you touch the guy in the neck and he drops?" I said, "I'll show you one even better. I'll show you one where you touch a guy and he jumps 10 feet. And he went, "Oh, that'd be good, bro." I said, "Okay, you ready?" And I'm sort of just lined it up, like sort of set the stage, and I'm shaking my hands and loosening up, and he's like looking at me going, "What the hell's this guy doing?" And I reached over to smack him in the groin, like we do, a finger whip in the groin. Anyway, he, like a heel palm, and he jumped 10 feet, and I was sweating, because I'm like, if this guy doesn't jump, I'm in trouble. Anyway, he's like, he literally jumped out of his shoes, and he goes, "What are you doing, bro?" And I said, "Are you a homophobe?" And he goes, "Yes." I said, "Well, you'll stay away from me then, won't you?" So sort of just set the bar with authority, I suppose, because if he got out of hand, he's a big unit. But it was hilarious. If you're in Kenpo, we're hitting the groin 90% of the time. So
yeah, definitely.
It's a funny story. He ended up getting let go because on one of my days off, because he used to work the stores, we had a driver come in from a courier company, and he was just an annoying. No one liked this guy. He was just annoying. Mm-hmm. And because he wasn't working the stores anymore, he was working assembly. He went up to him going, "I need you to unload my truck." He's like, "I don't do that. You got to go through the storm." And he's like, kept annoying the crap out of him, and he pulled out his scanner with the label on it and shoved it in his face, and he thought he took a swing at him. So he's backhanded this guy and knocked him out.
Wow.
Broke his cheek in 4 places, and we had to let him go. So I came back the next day. I'm like, "Where's Nick?" And I'm like, "Oh, we had to let him go." "What do you mean?" Oh, he was good. Oh, we got to start using the crane again now. That's not good.
Wow.
But he was the nicest guy. But
that's awesome.
Funny games. And I think that's a way that, because Ed Parker Jr. would always talk about it, his father enjoyed more beating people with his mind than physically beating them. And that was like an example of using your mind. So saying, we learn Kenpo to learn all the principles and concepts so we don't have to use it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, Peter, seriously, this has been so much fun. I'm glad we were finally able to do this and get on each other's podcasts. And at the same time, your episode's going to be coming out in April. I will definitely be in touch as it gets closer. I'm like 2 months ahead now, which I haven't been in a long time.
Okay.
But,
so you're going to bring it out on my birthday then, eh?
Yeah, April 2nd actually is
there
right
you go.
now. Is
just
the date.
Before my birthday. There you go.
So there we go. Well, happy birthday.
Nice.
When this comes up. But seriously, this has been so much fun. I'm so excited to start working on editing it and sharing your story with listeners. But I truly appreciate your time, and I can't wait to get this episode released.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure and a privilege. But also want to say, for anyone listening to the Everyday Martial Artist, if you haven't subscribed, do so. If you haven't commented, do so, because there's a lot of work in running a podcast. Yes. And a little bit of acknowledgement goes a long way. So I think you're at 240 episodes now, 46 or something.
I've recorded over you're 260 something, like 262.
Okay, 260. Yeah. Okay, nice. Okay, so that's a lot of effort, a lot of work, and I'll take my hat off to you because I know how hard it is. And if you guys are listening, we'd love to hear from you. We like getting feedback.
Definitely.
And Mr. Doucette would definitely like to. Yeah, he'd love that. So
awesome.
That would be my advice to our listeners.
Hey, I appreciate it, sir. Well, you take care, and we will stay in touch.
Great. Thanks very much.
Wrap up today's episode by taking your own training to the next level with Martial Theory by Steve Perlman, the book that's redefining martial arts thinking. Find Martial Theory on Amazon today. Join the worldwide movement at martialtheoryu.com, where you'll find Q&A sessions, live events, and direct guidance from Steve himself. Use code EverydayMA for 20% off for life. That's martialtheoryu.com, code EverydayMA. Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.